Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fatherhood is Dope, the podcast. I am your host, Aaron McGee, and per usual, man, I'm really excited that you all decided to tune back in for another episode. I have to do the setup and tell you to make sure that you subscribe and download the podcast. It's been a while since I kind of told you or reminded you of what this whole platform is about. So let me just take this quick second before we get into the conversation with today's guest. This podcast, this platform is about amplifying the voices of fathers. Now, I don't care if you're a stepfather, a surrogate father, a godfather, a single father or a married father. It really does not matter. If you are doing your part every day, or I should say doing our part every day, because fatherhood is dope. Fatherhood is doing our part every day. If you're doing that, then this platform is for you. It's for you to listen, and it's for you to come on, be a guest, and participate. And with that being said, I want to get right into the conversation. Today, I'm sitting beside a friend of mine who I've known for some years now and who I've been really eager to get on the podcast. And I'm glad that we finally have the opportunity to do this. I want to introduce you all to Kendall Williams. What's up, Kendall?
What's going on, bro?
Hey,
glad to be here.
Yeah, we did the handshake, y'all, because it's on camera. We got to do. Come on, don't. Come on. He gave me the corporate. He gave me the nervous grab. You know when brothers like link up, we had to make eye contact. Yeah. Like, are we gonna? Is this commercial? Is this the commercial handshake? It's all about the setting. We know where we are. We at work. Yeah. Grip you up. Yeah. Hey, hold on. We got to do the smack again. It's right there. It's right there. So when you hear the smack, it's real. For sure. But when it's just let that hand slide in, I call that the commercial. It's the commercial grab. It's Billboard Top 100.
So it's that work.
Yeah. You still really in work mode. So but so Kendall is a father of 3.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Got him right here.
Yeah. Oh,
James,
sweet.
Yeah. James, the oldest. Malik and Marley.
Yeah.
So I have 14, 3, and 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
and when he said he has them right here, he has a wristband that represents each one of them. Yes, hey, I should say, if you really want to get into this conversation and see Kendall and us in action, we're sitting like in my kitchen/living room area right now, and we're recording this. And so the video will be up on the Fatherhood is Dope YouTube channel. Okay. So I hope that it records the whole thing, because whatever it records is what I'm going to put up. But let's get back to it. Kendall, you know what's so unique about it? It's like, man, I knew you before you became a father, right?
Right.
And became a father in the, I say, unique way in which you did. Yeah. One of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the podcast, because originally when the podcast started, I remember you reached out to me. Mm-hmm. And you were asking me if I was either going to have a certain guest on that would discuss a topic that was relevant to you and your fatherhood. Right. And so I think the unique thing, and honestly, in my opinion, something that is way more common than we acknowledge in terms of parent and fatherhood, is those of us who become fathers or parents through marriage. And so I guess I'm treading carefully on as I at least intro it, because I know that some people, in the general term, I will call it a stepfather, right? Or a step parent. Right. But I know, it's 2019, so I watched Red Table Talk, and I know when Jada talks about Will's son that he had in another marriage, she always calls him. She's not his stepmom. She's the bonus mom, and he's her bonus son. And so I know that, we live in a new day and age. And so I'll let you address it how you will. But essentially, it's James. James, who's your oldest son, who is 14. You became James' father through marriage of his mother. Yeah. Okay, so that's kind of the premise in which we can set this conversation up with, and I'm sure we can go, and we should go a few different places. I think your story is so unique because you and Millie married. How old were you when you got married?
I was 24.
You was 24. You got married before I did.
Yeah, I was.
I remember you in that space, man. You were gun ho. You were sold out. You were committed.
Yeah,
you were clearly in love.
I was like, and then I was like new in Christ too.
Mm-hmm.
I was like a year into my faith after baptism and all that. When I met you, I was like, I saw you at church. Like, man, I don't know if this brother having a bad day or not. But I'm gonna pray for him, because you were praying the whole service. You was in that zone. I was like, man, I'm gonna pray for this man. That's what I was on. So yeah.
So how do you recall? Well, first of all, it's so funny. You just took me back to that memory because I remember that day, and you caught me in the back of the church, and I was thinking like, who is this guy? Like, what is he on? Like, I am good. Like, me, like my energy, like I was chilling.
Yeah, you was chilling.
But I'm glad you did, because you praying for me really initiated and essentially kicked off our friendship. So I appreciate that. So thanks for stepping out.
Sure. No problem, man.
Because sometimes a lot of people, I can look to be standoffish if you don't see me with like the big smile on my face or whatever. So you approached me, so I appreciate that.
No problem.
When you met Millie, like, do you remember how old James was at that time?
Yes, I do. Absolutely, man. I remember I remember the first day I met James.
Mm-hmm.
How nervous I was leading up to it. When I met James officially, he was just turning 7.
Wow.
Yeah, just turning 7, and he was in Michigan with the Millie's family on summer vacation, and he was coming home. And she had already told him that she was dating a guy, and that she wanted us to meet, and as a kid, he's like, okay,
mm-hmm.
He was, like, okay, if you say it's cool, then it's cool,
right?
But I was just like, I was so nervous because it was like, man, I want to make a good impression, because
mm-hmm.
If you're dating a woman with a child, and her child isn't comfortable around you, not that the child don't like you or something, but if they're not comfortable around you, then it's going to be hard for her to be comfortable with you. Because if the child standoffish and sense something, then as a parent, you're going to be like, well, what's that thing? So it's
right, because you have a responsibility to them too, to make sure that they're in a healthy, safe environment.
Exactly. So I wanted to make sure James was okay with me off the bat. So I met him at her apartment, and we went to go shoot hoops that same day.
Wow.
And just to talk and just to try to just get some commonality or whatever. And so like from that day though, I knew that I was going to be in his life.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew it, because he just reminded me of so much of myself, and she was a single mom, and I remember being 7 years old myself, and like my parents had either just divorced officially, or they had been separated for a minute, but my dad didn't live with us.
Mm-hmm.
So I just remember like feeling like days where like I wish he was there. So I just wanted to make sure I gave James an opportunity to feel what it feels like to have a father figure. Yeah.
So you guys really hit it off first day.
Yeah. Like first day, it was like he wasn't standoffish. Like he was like ready
mm-hmm.
to interact, and like ready to just like have a guy around who's not his uncle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So because his uncles are like around my age too.
Okay. So. I mean, so does he also have that type of personality where it's like, is he kind of easygoing? I mean, how would you describe James' personality? What's up, James? I'm assuming he may listen to this.
James, he'll probably see it. When I tell him that it's up on YouTube, because he's 14 now, so he's like super savvy.
Of course.
James, his personality as a kid like that, it was just like super outgoing, just like no stranger. It's just super outgoing. It's as he's grown up, and as he has evolved and matured, it's more so become observant, and just he likes what he likes, and things like that. But at that age, it was like I just want to be around people and have fun. So he was super outgoing and just super open, man. It was a relief to me because I could calm down and just not have any anxiety about this kid liking me or this kid being comfortable with me.
And be yourself too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you report that back to the woman that you're interested in, Millie? Hey, Millie. How do you report that back to Millie? Like, I know, of course, y'all come back. Yeah. And I'm going beyond like the first day, but, in those moments where the initial we're getting to know each other phase, like, are those conversations that you and your then girlfriend at the time, y'all sit down and y'all say, how was today with James, or how do you think this going? Or is she just like standing back watching the situation, waiting for like either the red flag or the white flag or the green light?
That's the thing about Millie, she's really observant, and she's really smart. Like and not just in the book sense way, but like she has a lot of intuition, a lot of just keen sense on what's what. Yeah. So she didn't really like say, hey, how's it going? I was asking her, how's it going her, and she was like, it's cool because she was watching everything, and we go out, on dates and on group dates where we me, her, and James going out to the park or to a Percy Warner and go for a hike. And now I look back on it, like she never asked me how do I feel about James and our relationship, things like that. Like I would always ask the questions, but she would see and tell me things and give me tips like, hey, try this or this, that, like just like, because it would be times where like after a while, because we dated for a year and a half and then we got married. So within that, but
the year and a half, side note, the year and a half, that included engagement too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So our engagement was 6 months.
Yeah.
So so within that year, it came a point to where she became comfortable enough to allow me to watch James at her house while she went to work. So with that, like it was weird because at first I wanted to establish I'm cool, right? Because it's like I want to be like, hey, I like being around this guy. He's cool, but it's tricky because you enter a role where you gotta tell this kid no. And once you tell a kid no,
it's not cool.
No, it's not cool. Yeah. So, and I let him use me a few times. I let him because I wanted, because and she told me don't let him use you because you want to be his friend. You want to, be cool or whatever. And I let him use me a couple of times. I said, man, I can't keep doing that, so I gotta say no. And so when those times came, and then he may get upset, I told him no, we can't have something that his mom said that he can't have or things like that. And so I had to go to her like, man, I feel bad, I'm frustrated because he's mad now. He got an attitude with me, but I'm just trying to be, not necessarily a parent, but an adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so
it's so interesting.
That whole dynamic is just it's tricky, man. It's so tricky.
It's that part is very interesting where, because I can imagine, like, if I take myself come out of the, I'm potentially I'll be your father, in this role, right? But if you just come into a situation where it's like, okay, if I make you upset, I don't know how deep our trust is, whereas like you will come back around and you still see me the same. Is that a part of what you were dealing with, considering?
Absolutely. It was it was those times where like I seen that I had to be a disciplinarian in a certain way. I had to, because I'm an adult. So if we're out somewhere, I can't say, okay, or you can have this or have that. You know, if your mom says that you can't have it if you with her, because then it's like, oh, well, you're cool. You know, it's like you can't play me. I can't allow you to play me. So I just had to find a balance, and which really,
I mean, what does balance really look like?
man, it looks like saying, okay, I'm gonna be an adult. I'm gonna be a parent, and I gotta be that. And it's understanding.
And that's a transition from friendship, right?
Friendship, so
and being cool.
And then so when I met James at 7, that next year when he played football, I coached his team.
Yep.
So, and then that same year we got married. So it was like a quick transition for him too. And it was a point to where I had to understand that too. It was quick for him because it was a year and a half, but it moved so quick because we were always with each other, always going out, always hanging out. So it was quick, and I had to take a step back and be like, okay, I gotta understand that, like, and he still had a relationship with his biological father. To a certain extent, not to where it is today, but it was to the point to where he knew him. He went to see him for like a week during the summertime. His dad would come down from time to time. So at times where I would get something wrong, that it would come up, but it wouldn't come up like, oh, I'm going to my dad's house. Like it would come up in my mind like, man, you know, because his dad would come to a football game, and
even while you were coaching.
Yeah. His dad would come to a game, and I would be talking to James about something, and it's something that I may be mad at James about that he's doing, and then his dad would say, "Hey, come here." Right after I talk to him, so I had to deal with that. So, but it's like, but you have to, like, the level of just self-esteem that you have to have in that situation. Is, I think it's unappreciated. Yeah,
because I can imagine that just that example in itself. I can imagine that making you insecure.
That's
like,
tough.
Man, here I am. I'm already battling. Like, I'm trying to be the authority figure. I'm trying to be responsible. I'm making the transition from being cool to fatherhood.
Right.
And then here comes dad, you know, and who could potentially, you know, I don't know what was said, but could potentially be undermining me.
Got it. So and then it's like, I didn't want to overstep my boundaries, but I knew the relationship that his dad had with his mom and him at that time wasn't good. I knew that it wasn't good because she told me that, and so. But I knew from my childhood that even though that your dad isn't 100%, you know, on the right path of fatherhood with all his things, as a child, you still want that relationship with that biological father.
Hands down.
Because it's just something that's there that you can't shake. Like it's no matter, like a coach comes into your life or a step parent or anything, like it's just that it's there. So I knew that I had to allow it, but it did it messed with me in the aspect of insecurity. You know, it's like
Let's speak to that just a little bit. I'm gonna take you just one step back because, man, I have folks that I know who are going into marriages or who have been married, who have become stepfathers. Essentially, you know, they're marrying women who already have kids, and you know, like I said, it's 2019. Like, that's going to be more of the norm, especially with like our generation starting families much later in life. I mean, you got married at 24, but you have so many folks who are going into their early and mid 30s starting families, and their partner who was about to become their spouse already has a kid, a child, or children, and then they're trying to figure out, like, how do you, especially if dad is still around, regardless of what his status is. So we can talk about either the dad who's not the biological father, who's not doing his part, or the biological father who is doing his part, and him and mom are just like, they're just not together, right? And so I just want you to kind of address beyond that, the football game situation. Like, I don't know if James' dad is still in his life or like what that status is, but I guess more importantly, what I'm asking is, how did you navigate just the balance of, I guess, respecting who dad is, good or not so good, but also still owning your position as well. But this is my wife now. Yeah. So I'm her covering. Right. She's my responsibility. Right. Her son is now my son. He's my responsibility. But also still trying to strike the balance of, how do I honor who his biological father is in his life without it disrespecting my house, or impacting my house in a negative way. I said a lot there. No, you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. And it's just like, it goes back to what I've been like saying to myself a lot lately, and just thinking about a lot lately about fatherhood and about, you know, about being a husband. Because I think that I would probably feel different if I wasn't married and I had children, because I wouldn't have to balance the dynamic of covering my wife, being a father, and trying to find myself within what society says a man should be and a father should be. Like, because it's a relative process to me, and it's like it's a snowflake. It's not the same, and with James, it was so much of, I want to give this kid who reminds me of myself something that I never had or felt I had, because I had great parents. I have great parents. I realize now that they could only give me what they were given. Yeah. That's mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever. I went through a long period of blaming my parents for my lack of knowledge in certain areas, my lack of know-how in certain areas. But I had to realize that my parents did the best that they could with what they were given and with how they were raised. You know, but at the same time, some of that has to be cut as well, because everything within growth and evolution in human behavior should always be in the process of perfecting and pruning. So when you talk about parenting, to me it was like I was doing things with James that I would do was like, oh snap, like I didn't mean to do that, and I couldn't understand where it was coming from. Like these little triggers, these little things I would feel, things I would say. I would get angry sometimes. It's like, you know, I don't know why I'm feeling this way. And then I never took time to go into it and take time to research myself and see like why I feel this way, and just like with him, I never took into full consideration that he's balancing feelings of his biological dad and his new guy who's really putting in work to show me that he loves me and wants to provide and be there for me. But I'm a kid who wants a relationship with my biological dad, and at the time his biological dad just wasn't consistent as he is now. Like now he's super consistent, super there. I'm actually, at this point in time, James is actually living with his biological dad. So we can get into that later, but he's living with his dad, and it's something that I kind of knew he was feeling a long time ago, but I just didn't want to voice it. I guess I was being selfish.
Who, Dad or James?
No, James.
Okay.
And then I knew his dad was too, because his dad, you know, I have a good relationship with his dad as well. Like,
awesome.
Yeah, we talk. I got his number. He got mine. So we text, and I over the years I've had James in a bunch of different things like football, hockey, educational things, man, basketball, and
monster truck visits.
Like monster truck stuff, like
you
know, those shows. But his dad hasn't been able to be here to have those memories. You know what I'm saying? So I would call him and say, hey, we doing this, we doing that. And James has accomplished this, James has accomplished that, because James has been a standout in sports and in school for a long time. A bunch of awards, a bunch of accolades. So I would always include his dad. So I kind of knew this time was coming, but it was just like, at the same time, it's like, from the jump, I say I'm going to be a father, you know, like for this kid. But since the wedding, it's just like I'm this kid's father, as far as I can see, and I have to co-parent. I know in the back of my mind, I have to co-parent alongside of this guy who's his blood father. You know, so it was just a like I always tell James, man, I grew up with him.
Yeah. Y'all really, and you really did.
I mean, I was 24.
Yeah.
I was 25. Yeah. I'm 30. It's like I don't know. I mean, I thought, man, it's like being 25 and seeing a little guy, he like 15, 16, think he got it all figured out. It's like, when you 16, relax. It's like, now 30, I'm saying, he's 24, 25, relax. Yeah. Half of it.
Well, that's what.
So
that's what we were looking at you saying.
Right. No.
But I started this conversation off by saying, man, you had your convictions, man. I think that clearly at 23, 24, clearly there's a lot of things that you don't know, but I think you had resolve on the things that you did. So
man, it was definitely the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
It was.
Like, your mind was made up.
Not like just it was like I wouldn't be. I don't think I would be as mature and having a sound mind as I have right now without this marriage. Because it taught me so much. Like about James, like I grew up with him because I had to mature. Yeah. And it was some spaces within my personality, within myself that I had to like grow from and grow out of and mature, and things from my childhood that I had to let go of, and having a son who was instantly, you know, like a big kid, like he was 7, I saw a lot and I felt a lot of things, and I was like, you know, and there would be times where like it would be times where I could see what my mom was doing. I could see it in real time because I'm doing it, and I'm trying to convey a message, or I feel frustrated because of what's going on at work, or if it's times where like I don't have the energy to play with James because of I'm into it with my spouse. You know what I'm saying? It's just like all those emotions I didn't understand about my mom. It's like, okay,
and now you're seeing it all like play out in real time.
And then it's like, and then it was things where like, it's like I went through a period of feeling a bit incompetent because I was like, man, you know, always plan to leave a legacy for my children, and I was at a point in my life was like, man, so what is that legacy gonna be now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but what? And then I went through a period of just experimenting things, just trying to solidify a legacy, and it was just but it was all because of James. Like I saw him as like, okay, he's 7 years, he's 14. I got 7 years to make sure that I'm putting something in place for him to see and be proud of, and if you want to partake in, because that's the legacy, you know. And I always wanted to do it by the time that my children were in high school, because when you're in high school, you know, it goes by quick, and right after high school, I mean, it's the real world.
Mm-hmm.
It's college, or you just go make your way. And I always wanted to make sure that my kids had something in place to either join in and help with the family business type of deal, or can benefit from.
Yeah.
So
legacy, you wanted a foundation for them to stand on.
Right.
Well, you know, let me stop you, man. Be quiet for a minute.
I can go, bro.
Hey, listen, Kendall and I already had this conversation before we started. He said, "Man, you know I can talk." But no, I wanted you to keep it up because you're getting some good stuff out. But I want to just insert right here. I think what's obvious, even when I hear you speak with this type of compassion about, you know, establishing a legacy in 7 years, bro. That's a lot of pressure on yourself. But I respect the mentality.
Have had that, you know, I like that. That hurt me a lot because I was pressuring my own self to accomplish something that takes almost a lifetime in 7 years. But I was just like, I gotta provide. I don't want to. Okay,
you're an achiever. You're probably an overachiever, and we get it. But and I think it's honorable, man, to have those type of aspirations, because I'm not knocking it at all. I say you go for it, but I think, you know, you have realistic expectations and your mile markers in place. But honestly, what I was really trying to get at is to say, you know, congratulations to you, man, for stepping up. And honestly, just hearing what I would say is your testimony is really, it really, for me, it solidifies the significance of what I'm doing here through the Fatherhood is Dope platform. You know, I reminded the listeners that this is about, fatherhood is doing our part every day. And our parts that we are called to do for our children, for our families, like, it looks different for everybody. And for you, you know, it's like the fuel or the catalyst for you to do your part every day is, what I've gathered is clearly establishing a legacy. You know, how you saw yourself in James, being for him something that a part of your childhood that you either didn't have, whether that was the additional exposure or the exuberant amount of attention. Because, you know, as Dr. Maya Angelou say, when you know better, you do better. That's right. And you've learned so much more, and now you get an opportunity to execute that as a father. One thing I do want to hear from you, and you can kind of answer this at your comfort level. But I'm really interested to know, and I'm asking this question on behalf of my listeners.
Okay.
Where as it relates, I'm going back to the relationship between you, James' dad, and Millie, your wife.
Okay.
And I want to know, like, were you and Millie on the same page in terms of how you all would respond to James' dad? And what I'm getting at is that because I know from my friends, from some other listeners, like, it's like, hey, Aaron, what if me and mom can't get on the same page on how we want to let dad impact what's happening in our house? Because maybe this wasn't your experience, but I'll give a further experience. So you signed James up for football.
Yeah.
You and Millie in agreement.
Yeah.
James' dad comes and say, man, my son ain't playing no football.
Right.
And then you're like, well, hold on. Well, Millie's my wife.
Yeah.
This our house.
Yeah.
She and I are in agreement. He playing football. And then Millie can be like, well, James' dad don't want him to play football.
Yeah.
And so that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm trying to see, and like I told you, I said you can answer this at your own comfort level, but I do want to get some perspective out there, and you can either share an example experience or kind of give some advice. But what would you say to a husband and wife who are trying to get on the same page with how they allow the child's biological parent to impact what happens in their household? And and the last thing I'll say to that, I think from what I've heard, just as men, it can be a challenge because here I am, I'm paying all the bills here. I'm generalizing here, right? But we're taking care of this household, but then there's an outside voice that kind of sort of has an impact on how our household goes.
Yeah.
And so, like, how do you address that? Were y'all on the same page? What did it take to get on the same page?
Well, I can say with that, that my wife has done a awesome job with that because she understood like how I felt and what was going to be needed to make things run smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
So she made sure that if it was something that we were doing with James that was big, like changing schools. It's like I put James in private school.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been in private school since he was in the 5th grade. I think 5th or 6th grade, yeah. So,
And that was something you brought to the table.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. So we had to tell his dad that, not like asking his dad if he was cool with him, but just telling him.
Mm-hmm.
And I know at first his dad wasn't sure about that. His dad was like, I don't know. But she allowed me to have the last word on that.
Yeah.
And that was big,
Let me, just because I want to get clarity right here, like in that situation,
yeah.
and this, I'm going deeper for my listeners.
Yeah.
I hope the right listeners are listening. But in that situation, was it you who was doing communication with James' dad? Was it Millie who was doing communication with James' dad, or was it y'all who was doing the communication?
So what I learned that, and I feel him because it's so funny because now James is up there,
mm-hmm.
and it's like
mm-hmm.
I'm calling James,
mm-hmm.
hey, how are you? So I could feel like that, but so
at that time, what was happening?
So at that time, it was like I was still so respectful of his dad because I knew that it couldn't feel good
mm-hmm.
to see a guy going hard as I was going off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm coaching. First year I'm coaching, we won a championship. James is like, we won. Like James is like he would go up there to see his dad and talk about me the whole weekend.
Of course.
So it's like I knew it didn't feel good for his dad. So I made sure that I made myself available to him as far as like sports or anything that James did or accomplished. I would make sure I call him
mm-hmm.
and tell him. And and try and keep that line of communication open. But I learned that sometimes if it was a concern of his, he going to Millie with it.
And not you.
Yeah, because it's something like, hey, you know, I don't really think James should do this, or like what, you know, like if it was a concern, he went to Millie, which I understand because you're not gonna bring a concern to me because you've been knowing me.
Yeah, so long. it's a trust situation too.
Exactly. So I had to learn, you know, hey, if it's a concern of his, he's gonna go to her. The best thing I can do is to keep our relationship as cool as possible, because you don't want it to get uncomfortable, because then you got James in the middle of it. Yep,
that's wise. That's wisdom right there.
Yeah. So I mean, but that just comes from seeing, man. Okay, this dude is around my age, a little older. Might be closer to your age, and it's like, man, we all, you know, are young and trying to figure it out. So I made sure that I never ever put him in my mind as the enemy.
Yeah.
Or put him in James' mind
Absolutely.
as the enemy, because it'd be times, I mean, it's, you know, and this is just real. It would be times where we go through that thing of, you know, I'm coming to get you, and then he wouldn't show up, which I went through as a kid too. But I never said, I'll take you.
Yeah.
I'll make sure you, like, I never put me against his dad.
Yeah.
Because that just it's not right, one, and it's not fair too, because then I'm playing with James' head at that time. So I made sure that between me, Millie, and his dad, we always kept it cool.
Yeah.
And if they had something going on between them, because, you know, if something was going on between James' dad and Millie, I would let them handle that. I'm like, you know, I'm not giving advice or anything, you know, about that. Like, that's between them. That's with their history. So anybody who's dealing with that, who is coming into a marriage where they have that dynamic, if you are the in-house father figure, and your child has a father like out of state, like mine does, you have to be respectful. Like, you have to be respectful even if your spouse isn't. Like, you can't go into it like, oh yeah, I heard bad things about this person.
Hey, what's up, good people? We had a snafu happen over here.
Just a smidget of
the video is still
issue.
recording, so but I accidentally touched the cord. That's what happened when you have this in-home production over here, y'all. We sitting in my kitchen,
nice, though.
sitting in my kitchen getting it done. But we were right in the middle of you talking about just making sure that you allow Millie and James' dad to handle any situation that was between them.
Right. So we were talking about the dynamic of me, my wife, her ex, which is James's biological father. So
you good?
We good on the levels? Okay, yeah. Yep. So it's just important as a step parent. It's one of the things that I got right. I feel like early is that I respected my son's biological father and the input that he has on his life. I respected it, and I made sure that I didn't overstep that boundary. That's one of the things that I can say, like, yeah, I feel like I definitely got that right. But as far as that dynamic between me and James and his dad, it's like it was times where I would kind of be sitting alone, like, man, like, okay, you know, I would have that thing where, like, I can say, yeah, this is my son, but there's always going to be a second opinion on my say-so. So it's like, okay, I can say, hey, man, I want James to go to this camp for the summer. But it's like, well, he's supposed to go to his dad's house in the summer. He goes there every summer. So, and then things were like, well, I want to teach James baseball. And baseball is played in the summer. So it was times when he was younger, around that ripe age to learn coach pitch or like team pitch baseball. I couldn't really teach him because he spent time with his dad's house in the summer. So those were things where, like, I had to just say, hey, I'm going to take a back seat on. And at times it did get frustrating because I'd be like, man, you know, I'm your dad until he come down. It's like, okay, because it's just a weird dynamic that you have to be secure with, man. And you know, that didn't bother me as much as me feeling fully me not feeling, I'm saying that right, me not feeling fully equipped to be a father in general.
Yeah.
You know, that was the biggest thing. You know, like being a stepdad and having to deal with an outside parent is one thing, but feeling equipped overall, that was more big for me, and presented a bigger hurdle to get over. Like, that was huge because it was times where I was just like, I don't know what to do, and there would be times where I would let my emotions run off of memory. Like you ever been driving home sometimes and been so tired, you like, how did I get here? You like, whoa.
More often than I am willing
that's
to
what
admit.
I'm saying. That's the scariest thing. Cause like, I know
That's
I
that
dozed off
autopilot.
like twice.
Yeah.
But your body knows the route and knows where you're going, which is a weird spiritual thing that like is crazy. But you can do that
in parenthood, in
parenthood,
fathering,
because you can say, I don't know what to do, and just start acting.
Off muscle memory.
Exactly.
All the things that's been stored up.
Exactly. And so your body starts doing what you saw growing up and what was done to you. And so I would go hard sometimes, and I would come back and have to apologize. Say, man, I'm sorry, you know, I went a little too hard this time, but it was just like, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah. You know something? This is a good point. Let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
All right. So then we gonna get to the other two kids real quick.
It's a curve we're gonna run.
I know.
Now.
Yeah. But let me ask this, because this is another question. I'm literally running the all of the conversations I've had in my head with all of you dads who are stepfathers, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe your wife gave you permission to discipline
absolutely
from day one? She gave you permission to actively engage. Because here's the scenario.
Awesome.
Here's the scenario.
I got lucky.
A couple of guys, they come into it, and then mom, and I know you can't speak on behalf of mom, but mom has, like, you know, rightfully so, her guard up, and you know, like, is he gonna love my baby like I love my baby?
Right.
And until he shows me that he loves my baby like I love my baby, then I'm not sure I'm gonna let him discipline my baby. Like, and what you have is a lot of kids in households getting away with things because, and this honestly, stepmom or stepdad, they're like, well, my spouse doesn't want me to engage with them in this way in the disciplined way,
Right.
in a way that's disciplinary.
Right.
You know, they like bring it to me.
I've seen that, and it's crazy because I was also seeing a dad say, "Hey, man, don't whoop my child, but just call me if they act up."
Exactly.
Thank God I didn't have to go through that, because that's like, it's like, okay, so if he tell me to shut up, and so I gotta call you.
It's like being a school teacher.
Yeah, it's like, but
in
you're
my
a
house,
parent in your
my
house. So
under my roof, under my authority.
I couldn't imagine calling James' biological dad and say, "Hey, man, James just copped a nasty attitude.
Hey, James just threw a plate up against the wall.
So what should I do?" It's like, no, right?
But you and Millie were on the same page.
But thankfully, his dad gave me the range too.
Yeah.
His dad told me from day one, hey man, I see you a good dude. I see you going hard, man. Hey, if James get out of line, hey, put a belt to him.
Yeah.
He
So you and Dad were in alignment on.
I got
like we
so
in agreement
lucky.
on discipline.
Because I was seeing worst case scenarios. I was seeing them, and I got blessed. I got lucky, man, and I thank God, because I have a wife who was so mature, man. Was like, and it's probably some of her frustration, because she was so mature, because she already had a dependent for 7 years before I met her. So she had to grow up too, because she had him when she was 19. So she had to grow up, quickly, and she did very gracefully. So when she met me and saw my potential, she allowed me to grow and understood I was gonna have to grow.
Yeah.
Of course, it was times where okay, you're gonna have to speed it up. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But
today, Kendall.
Because you ain't got tomorrow. No, for real. Yeah. But in all aspects, man, she gave me room to grow, and when it came to James, she trusted me and didn't restrict me on anything. So I was parenting. So that was a blessing. That's still a blessing, and it's like, it's unbelievable, because it could be bad.
Yeah.
If she felt like, okay, I trust him, but
not enough to
let him have the reins to my son as a full-fledged parent. Like, I can make a decision. And she said, okay, you know what I'm saying? Like that's huge, because if she didn't, then that would have added on to my other insecurities about being a father in the first place.
Yeah, so thank you. Because now I want you to see if you can package that in a advice capsule.
Right.
Because I want you to give a piece of advice for the listener, because, hey, dads, if you're listening, if you're in this situation, like, if this the part that they play for their spouse to say, hey, babe, like, this is what I've been trying to say to you. Like, This is how this will help me. So can you kind of present that in an advice perspective?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's simply being humble enough to say, hey, man, I need trust in this area. I need 100% trust in this area, because I'm a step parent, and I'm a first time parent, father, and there are other insecurities that you don't know about that I deal with, and this area is super important. This is one of the big ones. So if I don't have 100% trust and faith from you in this area, then I'm gonna struggle, because I'm gonna struggle with, why don't you trust me enough to say, here, come do this alongside me without restriction. Like, why don't I have that much? So that's always going to be a thing, and so it can not only have a negative effect on me and the child, but me and you.
Yep, exactly.
So
Man, you said it best. And honestly, I've been on the other side of those conversations. Yeah. And all of that is true. Excellent job with that. That really resonates. Yeah. I know. So you know something? Sure. I ain't gonna do the Aaron thing where I add on to it and mess it up. Let me shut it up.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, let's land this plane, man, because we've been at it. And first of all, I really appreciate this conversation. I really, really appreciate the perspective, because I think that this conversation is going to help a lot of guys who are either currently in this scenario or who will be going into it. And I appreciate your candor and vulnerability.
For sure.
So you and Millie have been married 6? 7?
I'm on camera. I'm on camera.
Come on, you were 24, you're 30 now.
It was 2014. We got married
2014.
June 14th.
I knew that.
I
just had an anniversary.
June 14th.
So that's 6 years.
That's 6 years. So at least I do the date. And I know the time, too, because I cried like a baby.
Hold on. Let's not embarrass ourselves.
That's 5 years.
That's 5 years.
5 years. It's too late. It's too late.
The damage is done.
The fact that I hesitated.
Here's the thing. No, you good. Well, actually, you're not supposed to hesitate till you get into the 7, 8, 9.
But it's been a journey, man.
Yeah, always go back to the year. Just say the year.
Say the year. June 14, man.
Well, here's the thing. So you all been married since June 2014, and you all have produced 2 additional babies,
beautiful little babies, Marley and Malik. Man.
Marley and Malik. So you got James, Marley, and Malik.
No, I got James, Malik, and Marley, because Malik came next. Okay. And Marley's here now. Marley's 7 months. So
let's I'm sorry, Marley and Malik and Marley. Y'all about to get the fast forward version of this conversation. But I mean, just what has it been like as you come into as a stepfather, and that's one dynamic with you and your wife. Yeah. And from what I can tell, Millie really embraced you, the idea of you being father, husband, and her and James' life. But how was the dynamic shift as you had your own biological children with your wife?
I'm gonna tell you what, man. I was like, I kind of like, so it's been a lot, but as far as parenting, I've been kind of sad, because I've told James this a couple times, and I'm not sure that he gets it yet as a child. As when I told him, at first he was 12 because Malik is 3 now. So I told him this as soon as Malik was born. I told him, and then I'm telling him again too, just because I think about it a lot. I told James, I said, man, don't be upset with me, but Malik is gonna get a totally different Kendall than you've experienced. A lot more mature, a lot less hollering. I'm not gonna be as hard on him as I was on you. In a lot of times. So
that was just an explicit conversation that you had with him.
Yeah. So because I always admit my flaws and my mistakes to James, because I feel like if we let them know that we're not perfect as a parent, and we know we don't got all the answers, I feel like they'll understand that we know that we're human as well, and they'll give us grace to accept our advice, because we're not saying like we know that we're right, but we know that we are trying and that we're not perfect. So because as a kid, cause like when I grew up, I mean, it was like being a child's play. So like, don't talk. If adults talking, if I say that we doing this, then we doing this. Don't ask why or how come. Like, it's just what we doing. So we were not allowed to look at our parents as equals, or as like, well, not really equals,
I was supposed to say, you shouldn't do that,
not equals, but as like as imperfect beings, because I wasn't allowed to ask questions. Like, it was times where my mom may have been wrong on things, but I couldn't say she was wrong or ask a question about like or even have time to explain myself about some things that I did wrong. So
the remedy that you like, hey James,
so
let me let you in on it on the front end.
Well, it's just like knowing if I went too hard on something.
Yeah.
If I
know that I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, it's going back to him and not like saying, hey man, I'm sorry, please forgive me. It's just saying, hey man, I went too hard on this. That's my bad. You were still wrong, but I shouldn't have said what I said or did what I did. So in the future, I'm going to handle it differently and leave it at that. And that right there allows your child to see, okay, it's not just do what I say. I'm the parent and you the child. That's it. Like that's what I grew up with, and it's because that's what they grew up with.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're only like about 5 generations from a bad existence.
Yep.
As a black person in America. So you got so as an adult, I took that into consideration and said, okay, my parents were hard because her mom was hard, then her mom was hard, then her mom was a slave. Like you know what I'm saying? So my generation, our generation has the opportunity of taking the good things that we got that our parents are putting into us and taking out the bad across the board and re-engineering what sound parenting is. Because we don't have to be so aggressive as our parents were, because a lot of our parents were aggressive because whipping came from whipping a slave. So that was just passed down. So we don't have to whoop all the time. That may be something that we need to phase out at a certain point, because I don't think it made anybody better. You know what I'm saying? To me and my friends, I was like, I used to be in school after a whooping and forget what I was told right after because I was so emotionally abused. So that's not abused, but
that's a conversation confused. For a whole nother podcast as we talk about corporate punishment, discipline. Exactly. I got some stories to tell. You know what I'm saying? So to wrap it up, to kind of like sum it up. So with Malik Marley,
with Malik and Marley, and I want to reiterate too. I mean, I have 2 great parents. Man, and I just know that some things had to change and had to evolve so that the continuation of parenting in my generation, in my family, gets better. It has to. It has to get better. So. Yeah, exactly. So I told James that he's gonna see a total different Kendall when it comes to parenting Malik and Marley, because I did some wrong things that I don't feel good about, that I had to grow from and shed, and that I know I won't do with Malik. And I'm sure some things that he'll see and be like, man, if that was me, you would have chewed me out, but that'll show him growth and maturity. Like people have like I was 24 when I met him. I shouldn't be in that same mindset at 34. It's no way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's no way. So that shows him, okay, people can grow and learn and mature, even somebody I see as an adult. Adults can continue to just learn and grow. So that is a pivotal thing that I think about, and I kind of get sad about, because like, man, I wish I could have done some things better. But at the end of the day, it all works out because it's all a learning experience, and I take responsibility for things I've done wrong. So James can say, hey, he's not just saying I'm gonna let it ride and it's whatever. It's showing me that I can too grow, and that I will make mistakes, but I have to be willing to grow, because it's what's best for everybody.
Yeah. Boom. Kendall, we gotta go, man.
Yeah, I know.
We gotta go. My bad. I want the listeners. Yo, we done
That
made
hour
it.
fly by.
Hey, that hour has flown by. I
Yeah.
hope. Listen, because I'm always, occasionally I'm on the road for meetings, and so I appreciate a good conversation like this, because this would have got me straight through a hour of my drive or sitting in the airport somewhere. So again, man, I've already thanked you, but I just want to close with saying that I appreciate you, your perspective, man. I think. And I know you. I know that you've been through so much as a father already, you know. And yes, you came into this relationship, this marriage, going so hard in the paint for James. I was there to witness a lot of it on the front end. It's like, geez.
Yeah, I went like folks don't understand. Like, people don't understand. Like,
don't get back into it,
man.
Don't get back into it.
Cutting hair, bro. Like, I tried to cut his hair. I'm like, I'm finna cut his hair.
Hey, bro, you was on some super dad type stuff for real.
That was great because I mean, he got to a point where James would like be around his friends or at his school, like, yeah, that's my dad right there, you know. And that me going hard early allowed him to open up early.
Yeah,
allowed, hey, say we're doing this together, so it allowed a lot of hugs, trust, and just kick it time, man. Because I went so hard.
All right,
you know what I'm saying. So now I can be y'all. I can holler at him or something like that sometimes.
And he knows
he knows that, you know, that's my dad.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
All right, don't interrupt my closing.
Yeah, I know.
No, but I'm glad you did, because that's another lesson in what you just said. And for my listeners and the viewers on this video, show up. Do like Kendall, man. And spouses, give your spouse the opportunity to show up as your full self. And that's what I really take from this conversation with Kendall, man. He showed up as his full self, being the best that he could be with the circumstances and the knowledge that he had, being the best father and stepfather, dad that he could be to his son, who James is his son, and he co-parents with James' biological father and is in love and married to James' wife, James' mom. Yeah. So, I hope that you all, man, I hope that the right listeners that I'm talking to, the dads who I know it's so many of y'all who are either in this scenario or who will be going into it, and you're really trying to figure out what is that balance. And I just want to encourage you to not just get frustrated and throw in the towel on, you know, your stepchild's or your bonus child's biological father or mother. Like, guys, it's worth working out, and it's bigger than you. And I think this conversation with Kendall has proven that it's bigger than you.
Absolutely.
It's about that child and making sure that they have the most healthiest environment possible. All right, guys, I've drugged this out long enough. I am your host, Aaron McGee. You all have been listening to Fatherhood is Dope, the podcast. Remember to subscribe, download, leave a comment. If you want to see Kendall back, man, because clearly we can talk. If you want to see Kendall back, man, send me a comment, a DM, or whatever. There was so much more that I know we could have talked, like so much more we could have talked about. But I'm glad that we anchored down and really spent some time on co-parenting and being a stepfather and a bonus dad and having a bonus kid. So, y'all, make sure y'all come back next week for the next episode. You've been listening to Fatherhood is Dope, the podcast. Peace.